The chaos you are about to witness was done by a reading professional. Please do not try such chaos on your own. Hello Bookworm family, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Danny. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below. Don't forget to click the notification bell because it's always a mystery when I post new videos. And if you're not already following me on Instagram, please be sure to do that. It is at @the_dancing_bookworm. I post on there full book reviews and bookish content. Guys, eventually I'm gonna find a new place to film that has a nicer backdrop, but for right now, this is where it is. I say every month I'm gonna find something new to film this kind of video in, and I never do, so I'm sorry, but at least you guys have my nice little like eye chart thing back there, you know, like that's something to look at. I just don't have any great filming or lighting places in my apartment. I really got to figure that out and work on that. But anyways, it is September TBR time. Not only this month am I returning to, every time I start filming, Chandler starts playing with a paper bag. It is like a thing. He wants you guys to hear him play with his paper bag. So I'm sorry about that noise in the background. But I was saying, not only am I returning to doing Bookardy this month, so it's my first official month of doing Bookardy, but I am also doing Becca's, from Becca and the Books, Becca's Bookopolathon that she runs, which is like a book take on Monopoly. So I will link her channel down below so you guys can kind of see that. And I'm also doing, Christy Reeves is doing her TBR game for a readathon, a week-long readathon. Believe it's September 11th through the 18th is when she's doing it, and it's the Rainbowathon. So I have those, plus I do my monthly Facebook group, my private Facebook group called Reading Rivalry, where I am put onto a team and I have to read for points and stuff like that, and I will also link all that stuff down below, so if you guys want to check any of that out, you are more than welcome to. I am so sorry about the paper bag noise. If I take it away from him, then he'll meow, so we have to pick our battles. So paper bag noise it is. But anyways, before we jump into September's massive TBR, I have a feeling it's going to turn out that way, let's take a look at how we did with August. So for August, the physical books that I had were The Good Hawk by Joseph Elliott, The Guncle by Stephen Rowley, The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants by Anne Brashares, Wake by Lisa McMahon, and The Summer of the Swans by Betsy Byers. I did read all of these. I am currently working on Wake, but I will finish it tonight. There's only 90 pages left. So these definitely all got done. In addition to that, I did do some TBR rolls when I started Bookardy up for a couple more physical books, and for that I added in I Survived the Sinking of the Titanic 1912 by Lauren Tarshish and Maniac McGee by Jerry Spinelli. I have read the one by Lauren Tarshish, The Sinking of the Titanic. That has been read. Maniac McGee I should be able to read tomorrow, so they will be done by the end of the month. And then I also, just for funzos, added I Survived the San Francisco Earthquake and I Survived the Bombing of Pearl Harbor, which are also both by Lauren Tarshish, so you guys can check that out. So this will be completed by the end of the month. I still have like 3 or 4 more days by the end of the month to complete this. For audiobooks and ebooks, we had, I'm going to try not to look down this time, so I'm going to hold my notebook up here. You're My Kind by Claire Lydon, I did read. The Bookish Life of Nina Hill was actually a physical book, but I've already lent it out to a friend because it was so good I wanted people to read it. So my coworker is currently reading it right now, so she has that one, but I did read that one. Brownies and Broomsticks by Bailey Cates, I did read that one. Beyond Magenta by Susan Cucklin, I did read that one. Wilder Lore, The Accidental Apprentice by Amanda Foody, I did read that one. Tokyo Ever After by Amiko Jean, I did read that one. And then I also listened to Shame is an Ocean I Swim Across by Mary Lambert, did finish that one. The Day I Fell into a Fairy Tale by Ben Miller, I did finish that one. Nutcracker and the Mouse King by E.T.A. Hoffman, I did finish that one. And then I also listened to Rainbow Gray by Lauren Ellen Anderson. I finished that one, and the only one that I have left that is an ebook is I Could Chew on This and Other Poems by Dogs, which is only 118 pages, so I should finish that by tomorrow or the next day, so definitely by the end of the month. So I completed a huge TBR. I think by the time I finish all my books, it's 20 books this month, which I'm pretty happy with. I usually read between, like, I want to say like 9 and 16 books a month, which is kind of a wide range, but I've never actually read 20 books in a month. I've read like 18, 19, but 20 is like, I think it'll be the max of a amount of books that I've read in a month. Obviously some of them were really short middle grades, but I'm still pretty proud of the number. So but anyway, let's jump in to my September TBR because it is a chunker. So let's get going with that. Okay, so since there's 4 different things I'm participating in for the month of September, I'm going to kind of do this in weird little segments, so kind of try to keep up if you can. It might be a little confusing, but it'll all come together at the end, I think. So the first thing we're going to do is my Bookardy, because that is my own personal TBR game. If you guys did not see last month's video, Bookardy is basically a take on Jeopardy. I did introduce it before, so I will link that video down below or up above. Look for it so you guys can kind of get the gist of the rules, but it is very much like the game of Jeopardy. I will roll a dice. If the dice, whatever number the dice lands on will coincide with a number on the board. So like 1 will equal a 100 question, 5 will equal a 500 question. If I roll a 6, I get to pick any of them. The categories are different genres of books. The only reason I'm not holding up the game right now is because I stupidly already did the rolls. I pre-rolled before filming this so I could plan out the TBR and you guys would see what I rolled, which I did not plan very well, so I'm sorry about that. But you guys can watch the video from last month, which explains the rules, or if you guys are old subscribers, you've probably seen me play this in the past. But basically, I will roll the dice, whatever number it lands on, I will pick one of the categories to take that number from. So let's say I roll a 2, I will pick one of the $200 questions in any category I want. If I roll a 6, I can pick anything on the board. If something gets picked, I can't pick it again, so I'm not like replacing the card or anything like that. If it's picked, it's picked. I can't do that one again. So the prompts range from everything from like the 100s being like a mood read or to read someplace cozy or something like that, like an easier question, where the 500s are something more specific, like specifically find a book with a beach on the cover and stuff like that. So that is what we are doing for Bookardy. I've also added in a couple elements to Bookardy. So in the past, if I did not read a book on my TBR the month before, I had to try to find a way to work it into the new Bookardy rolls, which I will be doing again. So obviously I will have finished all of my August TBR by the time this video goes up, so that's awesome. However, if in September I don't finish all my books, like let's say didn't read Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, which obviously I did, I said I did, but let's say I didn't read Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants and it was one of my Bookardy rolls, I would have to then, for my September Bookardy, try to figure out how to work in Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants to one of those prompts, and if I couldn't work it in, I would have to do an extra roll. So that rule will be coming back again, and I've also added in the element of double jeopardy. So if I pick a card that says double jeopardy on the back of it, that means that I have to roll the dice, and whatever I roll, I have to double that amount of books, so hence double jeopardy. So if I roll a 1, I will have to pick 2 extra books. If I roll a 2, I'll have to pick 4 extra books. So I really don't want to land on the double jeopardies, but they are in there. They're mixed in. They're very rare cards. So if I get them, it's going to suck, but that's kind of what happens with it. So if I roll a 6, I would have to pick 12 more books for that month, which seems insane, but let's hope that never happens. So if I never roll a 6. If that happens, I don't even know. It would probably be like 6 more audiobooks or something like that, 12 audiobooks or something like that. But yeah, I would have to pick 12 more books. Like it's not like the 6 that I already have, it would be 12. So I will be doing 6 rolls for Bookardy, and let's see how that turns out first. Okay, we're gonna try here for our rolling this time on the table, see how it turns out. So let's do roll number 1 of 6. It's a 6, so I get to pick anything I want. So I think I'm going to go realistic contemporary for 100, and we will do random letter generator. So I have to find a book that starts with the letter that I randomly generate. So for roll number 1 of Bookardy, I rolled a 6, which means I got to pick whatever I wanted. I picked realistic contemporary for 100, which was an easier prompt, and it was a random letter generator. So here's the random letter generator that I pulled up. It lands on the letter G, which means I have to pick a book that starts with the letter G. It can't have like the or anything like that in front of it. It just has to start with G. So the book that I'm going to pick is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. A couple months ago, I read Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert, and I really enjoyed it, even though it was like a little more graphic with the straight romance stuff than I feel comfortable with, but I did still really like it. I thought it was pretty funny and I really liked the characters, so I will be reading this one, which is about her sister Chloe, who is kind of like a nerd in a way, and she falls in love with this guy, she starts getting like lessons from this guy on how to be less of a nerd, which obviously means she's going to end up falling in love with him because it's a romance, because that's how life goes. But he's like a little bit more rebellious and like really handsome and stuff like that. So I will be using that for that, but then I'm also using that for my reading Rivalry prompt of Beauty and the Brain. So I'm kind of switching it up. I think what they wanted there was like a beautiful girl with a brainiac guy, but I'm switching it up and I'm doing a brainiac girl with a beautiful guy. So switching it up, no stereotypes. So that is the first book that I will be reading. All right, let's do roll number 2. A 5. Oof, a tough one. Okay, let's do sci-fi fantasy for 5. Sci-fi fantasy with a beach on the cover. That's gonna be really tricky. Ooh. Okay, so this one was really tough. It was a sci-fi fantasy with a beach on the cover. So what I found for this one is a little bit not quite right. It's not right, but it's not exactly a beach. It's more of like an ocean situation. But I will be reading Straight On Till Morning by Liz Braswell. This is part of the Twisted Tale collections. This is about Wendy and what happens if she went to Neverland with Captain Hook instead of Peter Pan. So you guys can see, like, it's kind of a beach situation there. Like, you guys know that Neverland's like an island. So, like, there's like the beachy part right there with like the ocean and Skull Rock and stuff like that. Like, I think it counts. You know what? It's my game, and I say it counts. So we'll be reading this one for that prompt. That was a really hard prompt, guys. I looked on like every audiobook thing that I had, and I just could not find anything that worked. And I didn't really want to add this one because she'd be thick, but I am really trying to get through these Twisted Tale books. So, and I love Peter Pan, so this should be a good one. I'm regretting a little bit of my choices with how big it is. All right, roll number 3 out of 6. A 6, so I get to pick again. So let's do historic for 200. Well, that's a good one. A cozy read. Now I just have to find a historic book that's cozy. That might be tricky too. All right, guys, we got another 6, which was another my choice situation. Someone did kind of say that I should, if I roll a 6 where I get to pick whatever number I want, I should then roll again for the categories. And I thought that was a pretty good suggestion, but I knew this month was going to be chaotic, so I didn't do it this month, but maybe it's something that I will do in the future. But anyway, so this was a cozy read historic. So I'm going to be reading, I actually have to look at the title of this one because it's a long one. It is called Dear America, Voyage on the Great Titanic, The Diary of Margaret Ann Brady, RMS Titanic 1912 by Ellen Emerson White. So what that means is if you guys lived in like the US or Canada growing up, we had books called Dear America or Dear Canada, and then we also had My America and My Canada. So the Dear America books were about like young girls during a certain historic period, and it was like their diary, where the My America books were young boys and it was like them telling their story. So it kind of appealed to both genders. Not that there's a gender, but you know, back in the day when people didn't know better or chose not to know better, that's what we had. So me and my little, I'm even wearing my non-binary shirt, but me and my little non-binary self like to read both. I got a little bit made fun of as a kid reading the My America ones because they weren't the girl versions, but whatever. I also liked the Dear America. I just really enjoyed these books growing up. So I have been on a Titanic binge. As you guys know, I have watched the movie like a bajillion times now. I keep watching YouTubes and TikToks and all this stuff about the Titanic. So I went on Thrift Books and I ordered myself a bunch of books about the Titanic because I have problems. So I got this one because I remember the Dear America books and I just adored them as a kid. I loved reading them. I loved the historical elements. And what's more cozy than taking a trip down memory lane? So this one is specifically about a young girl who's on the Titanic and she's journaling about the night that the Titanic sinks, and kind of what happens before and after that situation. So I am very excited to read this one. I remember reading it as a kid, but I don't remember what happened in it. I just remember actually having the book. This one and the World War II one I had. And I remember those ones, like really specifically. I don't super remember many other ones. I do remember a Dear Canada one, which was like about an epidemic, which I tried looking for on Thrift Books, but they didn't have it at a good sale price yet. It was like $15 or $16. So we're not gonna get that one yet, but I have it on my wish list for if the price goes down. But yeah, if you guys don't know what Thrift Books is, if you want cheap used books, go Thrift Books. And for like every order, like it's like a certain amount of points you get per order, but I swear every order I end up getting a free book, so it's really nice. I guess I just buy too many books at once, but yeah, so Dear America, the Titanic one, I'm very excited to read it. It should be coming in the mail in a couple days. And did I use this for Reading Rivalry at all? I don't think it's for any of my Reading Rivalry. No, I did not use it for any Reading Rivalry, so we'll see what else I use it for. Oh, did I use it for Rollathon? I did, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But I did get to use it for a couple different things, so that's good. All right, so that is for that roll. I don't even remember what the prompt was at this point. I got so excited about the book. All right, roll number 4. A 6 again. Oh my gosh. All right, so I get to pick whatever I want. Somebody did recommend something for if I do the 6s, and I didn't do it this month because I knew it was already going to be crazy, but I might try it next month because if I keep getting 6s, this is rough. All right, so we'll do a 300, and let's do miscellaneous. A Disney retelling. I always love a good Disney retelling. Y'all, I swear this dice is not rigged. So back when I used to play this game, if I rolled the same number 3 times, I had to add an extra roll. But y'all, we're not playing that game anymore. Nope. Too risky. Too risky. But I will say, out of 6 rolls, getting a 6 3 times, that's so mind-blowing to me. I don't even know how that happens. But anyway, so for this roll, we have a Disney retelling. And I picked the book. Did I write down the author's name? Yo, did I forget the author's name? Hold up. I think I have it here somewhere. I think I wrote it down in so many different places. But I did find this in audiobook. So I know that the Twisted Tale books are Disney retellings, but this one is already so big, and they're all this big that I could not do another one in this thing, and I couldn't reuse that one because I already used it for Bookardy. So I will be reading Charmed by Jen Calanita. So, okay, so that's what it was. So Jen Calanita actually writes some of the Twisted Tale books, but this one is on Scribd, and it's not a Twisted Tale book. This is about a girl who goes to a school, and I think somehow she, like, unlocks the Wicked Witch and the Evil Queen and stuff like that, and they come and they start taking over things. I don't fully know. I found it on Scribd. It sounds really cute, and I saw that it was Jen Calanita who helps write the Twisted Tale books, so I was really excited about it. So that is a Scribd book, and that's what I will be using for that one. And I don't think, did I use it for anything else? I don't think I used it for anything else. No, I just used it for my Bookardy. So it's kind of good. Like a lot of the books that I found on audiobooks, it was because I only needed them for one prompt instead of all 4 TBR things that I'm doing this month. So, but yeah, it sounds cute, and I'm glad that it's another author who does the Twisted Tale books, because the Twisted Tale books are written by a bunch of different authors. So Liz Braswell is one of them, who wrote the Straight On Till Morning, but Jen Calanita is another one, and I really like the Twisted Tale books, so I have a feeling that I'll really like Charmed as well. All right, we got 2 more. A 2. Let's do mystery thriller. Ooh, fun. Velcro moved on this one. A mystery thriller with nature on the cover. All right, so we have a mystery or a thriller with nature on the cover. What did I even do for this one? Oh, this was another script book. And guys, I kind of like, so I had originally planned to read The Final Girls by Riley Sager. However, the physical copy that I have does not have nature on the cover, but the audiobook version had nature on the cover. But I couldn't find the audiobook version, but I did find another book called The Final Girl, which is a mystery thriller that has nature on the cover. So I was like, let's just do that one because it's on audiobook and then I wouldn't have to read a physical book. So that one is by Dan Padlavana, and I found it on Scribd. So I will be using that one for that, and it's also going to be the main genre this month for my Reading Rivalry group is a thriller, so we have to read a thriller, so I will be using it for that as well. So I got to use it for two things, which is really nice. But yeah, I really want to read Final Girls by Riley Sager soon, but this one also sounded really good. So it's about a sheriff who is getting help from a local private investigator to solve a murder. However, the private investigator struggles with like severe chronic depression, and he doesn't really want her help in like her current condition. But then they find out that this isn't the first murder that's been convicted by this person, so he ends up needing her help because then somebody else goes missing. So it's kind of just like an all over the place thing, but I really found it interesting that they are going to have a main character who's like doing her job while still battling chronic depression, because y'all, that's a tough life. So I'm really interested to hear this one. I'm glad that I found it on audiobook. I don't super love reading thrillers, and here's why. I love thrillers if I'm in a group of people. Like if I was going on vacation and was like reading a thriller while I was on vacation, cool beans, jelly bean. Living home alone, reading a thriller, no. I do not like that. I do not like to read thrillers if all I'm doing is staying home alone. So if I'm listening to a thriller on audiobook, I will probably have to go for a walk, or it'll have to be like right before work when then I get to go around people. Yeah, I can't do it if I'm just sitting home alone. It freaks me out. So I am a wimp. I'm aware of this, but I will be reading Final Girl by Dan Padlavana for that prompt. All right, our last roll for Bookardy. A 5. Again, oh my gosh, it was either hard or wicked easy. All right, so for 5, let's do... I don't really want to do a nonfiction, but that's the only one I didn't pick yet. No, I really don't want a nonfiction, so we're going to do miscellaneous. New read by a favorite author. Okay, that shouldn't be too bad. It was like all 5s are my choice this month. It was like one or the other. But anyways, I got a new read by one of my favorite authors. So for this one, I will be reading Fever 1793 by Loria Halls Anderson. This is about a girl named Maddie who is, she's like in these like midst of scarlet fever, I believe. Yeah, it says, the waterfront is abuzz with reports of disease. Fever spreads from the docks and creeps towards Maddie's home, threatening everything she holds dear. So I love Loria Halls Anderson. I actually, during the pandemic, she did like a talk with BookCon, and I asked her like if her publishers ever get mad about her going back and forth between like realistic fiction, historical fiction, and stuff like that, and she said that they used to get really mad about it, but they don't anymore. But I've actually gotten to like chat with her about that before, and fun fact, I graduated with her stepson. We didn't really know each other. I had a very big high school, but we did graduate together, so she did come to my school a few times and do like author talks there as well for career day. So Loria Halls Anderson, one of my top authors. I absolutely adore her. Speak is still one of my favorite books that I read in high school. One of the few books that I actually read in high school, because I did not like to read the books that we were assigned. But I will be reading this one because I have never read it before, and I'm very excited to read this one. Okay, so that wraps up for Bookardy. Let's go into Bookopolathon, and then we'll talk through the rest of my books for Reading Rivalry and roll the Rainbowathon, because I don't know, this is going to be like the world's most chaotic TBR, but let's just get into Bookardy. Nope. let's get into Becca's Bookopolathon rolls next. All right, and we're moving on to Bookopolathon. So I did not print out the cards because I didn't have a lot of ink left in my printer. So if I land on Community Shelf or, what was the other one? It was Community Shelf or, is it just Community? No, Chance. Community Shelf or Chance. I'm going to do some form of like random generator or whatever. But we'll talk about that if I even get to those. So I'm just using a pen to tap because these are like really small spaces. So I'm just going to like tap the pen to count. All right, let's do the first roll. Woo! And 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Published or set in 1999 or before. So it's right here. Published or set in 1999 or before. Okay. Okay, so for our first roll, we got an 11, and guys, this is like horrible filming. I'm so sorry. I could not find something small enough to move around, and then I'm trying to control my little camera thing. It was not good filming. I apologize in advance, but we landed on set or published in or before the year 1999. So for my Reading Rivalry group, I have to read a book that was written under a pen name, so somebody who used a pen name. So I'm going way before 1999, and I am going to be reading Animal Farm by George Orwell for this prompt, as well as the prompt for my Reading Rivalry group. I was supposed to read this in school, but I never did. Shocker, I know. But I don't really know much about it. I believe it's like supposed to be a spoof of like Stalinist Russia or something like that, and animals are being mistreated, so they take over the farm, but I don't know much beyond that. I did find it on audiobook, so I'll be listening to it on Scribd because that's about all I know about it. So can't really help you much with that one, but it fits the prompt. So hey, I got that going for me. This is the world's most chaotic TBR. I have no idea what I'm doing, and none of these are really like mood ready either. I really need like a good mood read in here somewhere because I don't know what I'm doing at this point. I'm only doing 5 rolls for Bookopolathon. I don't know if I actually said that or not. Oh, I gotta put my thing back over here. Okay. I am just circling the spaces that I get so I don't do them twice. So we have 4 and 3 makes 7. So let's count. It's actually really hard to do this through a camera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ooh, this is hard depth perception for me. Okay, so we're right here. Ooh, we're right here. A favorite setting. Okay, that should be pretty easy. So our next roll we got for Bookopolathon was favorite setting. So because I'm so obsessed, Jen the Bing, you're here. But because I'm so obsessed with the Titanic right now, I would say the Titanic is one of my favorite settings currently. So I will be using my Dear America Titanic book for this one as well. So that will actually be covering, I think, something from every single thing that I need to do. So that'll be good, which I will talk about what it's going to cover for Roll the Rainbowathon in a second. But yeah, that's exciting. So I love the Titanic, like I said. So this is definitely a favorite setting situation because I'm just so obsessed with the Titanic. Actually, any like cruise ship would be my favorite setting, even if it didn't sink. So that's good. That's good, I guess. All right, let's go for number 3. 6, okay? We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did I do that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is really throwing off my depth perception trying to do this through the camera lens. Okay. It is a color wheel. So I believe that is like a random color generator or something along those lines. Yes. So I think for that I have to pull up a random color generator and then find a book on the cover that matches that color. Okay. We got a color wheel. So for this, I had to find a random color generator and pick a color. So it kind of came out like this sky bluish color, and I don't know how well my lighting's going to be in here, but I picked 12 Steps to Normal. This is by Farah Penn. I wanted to read this for a long time. It came out a while ago, but I've wanted to read it for a long time. But this is definitely the same color. I don't know if it looks like that on screen because my lighting's not great, but it is definitely the same color that was picked. But this is basically, I think this is about, yeah, it's a girl whose father enters rehab. Chandler, if you step up there, you're gonna shake the camera, dude.
Say hi, Bean. Oh, that is a good bean.
All right. But this is about a girl whose father enters rehab for alcoholism, and I believe he's about to return home, and she doesn't know what their lives are gonna look like. So it's kind of just like a YA drama-ish situation. You cannot step up there. Thank you. Kind of a YA drama situation, but the color does match, and I wanted to read it for a while. Again, though, it's kind of thicker, so, and I could not find this one on audiobook anywhere. Chandler, you're shaking the camera, dude. Get down. Oh my goodness, every time. I could not find this one on audiobook anywhere, so this is gonna have to be a physical read. And it's not like giant print or anything. It's not small print, it's like normal print, but still, so. Anywho. Alright, so we technically have 2 rolls left, but if in the 2 rolls I don't pass go, I'll do 1 more roll just because I don't want to do not the whole board. So, two more rolls hopefully. If not, I'll do 3 rolls. Oops. We have 1 and 5, 6. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One of Becca's recommendations. Okay, we got a Becca recommendation. So I kind of just went to her Bookopolathon recommendation video that she just posted recently, and on there was Get a Life Chloe Brown, which I was already planning on reading, so this works out perfectly because I want to read it anyway. So, and it was already on my Reading Rivalry one and my Bookardy one, so works out great. So I will be reading Get a Life Chloe Brown for this one. Alright, see if this is our last roll or not. We have a 9. Let's see if that gets us past go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh no, it didn't. It just missed past go. So I will do 1 more roll after this. But this one is my highest rated book on Goodreads. Okay, so we have highest rated on my Goodreads shelf. So we're going to go to my Goodreads shelf and we're going to sort it by average rating. And it obviously goes highest to lowest unless you change that. The highest one is the 5th Percy Jackson book, but I haven't read the ones in between the 1st and the 5th one. I've only read the 1st one and the 2nd one. I've read the 1st and the 2nd one, but I have not read the 3rd or the 4th, so I'm just going to skip down to the next one, which is Way of the Warrior Kid. This is Way of the Warrior Kid by Jocko Willanick, and it's From Wimpy to Warrior, the Navy SEAL Way. I'm actually really surprised this is like as high rated as it is. I've literally never heard of this. So I think, I don't even know how I got this one. Oh, you know what? I do know how I got this one. A family friend gave me a bunch of books, and her son is really into like Army and Navy and Marines and stuff like that. But she gave me a bunch of middle grade books, and this was in with that bunch. I don't super love anything with the military. And guys, it's not that I'm like anti-military or anything. I think that there is a time and a place and a need for it, but I don't see how fighting wars helps anything. So yeah, I don't know how to describe myself or my views on it, and I don't really want to get into it because then I get angry comments. But just know that this is not my type of book, so I was very surprised that it was listed under highest rated. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to like it. I'm going to be real with you guys. I just think, so this is basically about a guy who comes in to his nephew's life. He is an uncle and he's a Navy SEAL, and he comes in and the kid had a really tough time in school. So his solution is to have him do a bunch of push-ups and sit-ups and lose weight and get in shape. Just don't think it's a great lesson. I could be surprised. Maybe that's the lesson in the lesson, that's not a great lesson. I don't know. I don't think it sounds like a great lesson for kids. Don't think I'm going to like it. I might DNF it, but we'll see. I'm not going to say yes or no to it right now. I'm just going to read it because it got picked and there's nothing I can do about it, but I really wish I had taken it off my shelf. But yeah, I just don't think it's a great lesson to kids that, oh, if you want school to be easier for you, you should just lose weight and get in shape. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm not going to say anything else about it right now. I'm just going to roll with it. Just going to roll with it, and we're going to read it, and we're going to suck it up. That's what everyone wants to say about a book they have to read this month. They're just going to suck it up. Okay, very last roll. Here we go. Let's make it a good one. A 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, a book that features the season of spring. Okay, so the last book for this, I did an extra roll. I shouldn't have, because now I'm regretting it. But it was a book that takes place in the spring. I have no idea. I have no idea what to use for this. So, I am assuming one of my books is going to take place in the spring. However, I am reading the Sweet Valley Twins Teacher's Pet by Francine. Oh, who wrote the Sweet Valley Twins books? It is Francine Pascal. And these are about two twins, the Sweet Valley Twins. It's like a whole series from back in like, I want to say like late 70s, early 80s maybe. And they're just twins living their normal twin-like selves. Apparently it was very fascinating back then to be twins. I don't really know. But basically this is about one sister who's really good at ballet and one sister who's not so good at ballet. And they are kind of fighting for this role in a recital. And in their fight, the sister who's really good at ballet notices that her other sister's getting a lot of attention and kind of like the teacher's pet. So she thinks even though she's not as good as she is, that she's gonna get the part anyway, because yeah, I don't know, that's a horrible summary regardless, but basically she thinks that her sister's a teacher's pet and her sister's gonna get the role even though she doesn't deserve it. Anywho, this is a thrift book that I have on its way, and I'm reading it for Reading Rivalry anyway because I needed a prompt for Teacher's Pet. My Reading Rivalry group is doing a whole like back to school theme this time, so I don't super love any of the prompts that we're doing, but I did find a few books, but this is one of them that I'm using. I don't know who where is, me and Chandler apparently. I'm getting really like spaced out of filming this video because it has officially been like 5 hours of me trying to figure out this TBR situation, so bear with me guys, bear with me. But yeah, so I'm gonna read this one. I don't know if I'm gonna like it, but it's another dance book. You guys know I don't super love reading dance books because I'm a dance instructor and I always find flaws with them, but whatever, we'll figure it out as we go. I had to buy it on Thrift Books anyway for my Reading Rivalry group, and because it's talking about a recital, I'm assuming it's going to take place in the spring. It could be a Christmas recital, and I'm going to have to totally switch what book I use for this, but usually if it's talking about a recital, recitals take place in the spring. In my professional dance opinion. So I'm hoping this one will qualify for spring. If not, I do think a couple other of the books that I picked are spring based. I do think regardless I will be able to fill this prompt with one of the books I already have, but I'm going to assume this one takes place in the spring. If I'm super wrong, then I will switch up the book and I will announce it in one of my vlogs that I'm switching up that book. But I am hoping it takes place in the spring because that's usually when recitals are. So I'm kind of using deduction here, but it was really hard. Like I looked up like books that take place in the spring on Goodreads, on Google and stuff like that. And like, it's hard to find a book that takes like place in just the spring. Like most books are like through a year or something like that. So I don't know. I'm hoping that this one will work for it, but if it doesn't, I'll just replace it with something else. Okay, so that was it for Becca's Bookopolathon rolls. So I finished my Bookardy one and my Becca's Bookopolathon rolls. You guys now know the TBRs for that. So let's move into Roll the Rainbowathon by Christy Reeves. So what I'm doing for this one, her readathon is only a week long, and she did 10 rolls and picked the colors for it. So this is based off of her game that she does, her TBR game, which is based off the board game Hues and Cues. Yes, Hues and Cues, I think that's what it's called. But hers is called Roll the Rainbow for her TBR game, and basically like she rolls a dice, it lands on like a certain set of colors, and whatever color it lands on, you have to like find a book that matches that color on the cover. So I'm kind of just using what I'm already using for other things for this, and I'm only doing 4 of the prompts. She had 10 books laid out, but I just don't foresee me being able to do 10 books in a week, especially because I haven't even said this yet, but I go back to work in September 6 days a week. So I technically have 2 days off, but one of those days is a Tuesday, and I will be working a school district starting in October. So I'll have it off in September, I will also be doing work from home on that day because it's our first month back and things will be crazy for our first month or so. So I usually work from home on my day off, so I will really only have one day to read and like solely read. So I'm a little stressed about it, but that's why I'm only going to do 4 prompts for her readathon, because I want to support it because I really like her channel, but I just can't imagine myself reading 10 books in a week. That just seems like a lot to me. So the 4 books that I'm going to read for this are, the first one is going to be The Voyage on the Great Titanic, which is the Dear America book. And for this one, it had to be to read cozily, and it had to include like a blush pink or violet color. If you guys want to see the exact colors, I will link her board game down below, like the one that she did for this readathon, so you guys can match up your colors yourself, but I'm not going to put those in here because I think you guys should go watch her video anyway. But basically it had like a blush pink or a violet-y color, and you guys can see in this, like in the very background of the girl's picture, there is like a light blush violet in the sunset, and that's what we're using. That's what we're rolling with here. Get it? Rolling with. Anywho, so I'll be reading that one for that prompt. Then we have any book. So it was any book, and it had 4 colors to pick from, which was like a sky blue, an orange, a denim blue, and a goldenrod type color. So for that, because I already had a sky blue for something else, I'm going to be reading 12 Steps to Normal by Farrah Penn for this one, like I will be doing for Bookopolathon, because they're both sky blue and sky blue. So then the 2 books that I haven't talked about yet that I am using for reading Rivalry as well, but I am going to be reading for seasonal. So this has to be something that takes place during a certain season, which I believe this book takes place specifically in the summertime. If it is like springish summer, then I can also use it for that prompt that I didn't really know what to do with for Becca's Bookopolathon, but it does look kind of summery to me. But I will be reading Road Trip by Pete Hotman, and the colors had to have like some form of like salmon or orange, and you guys can see it's got orange, it's got salmon. This is a very overdue library book, guys. Luckily, my library does not do fees anymore, so I can return this at any point. And I did call and just say, I don't drive, I couldn't get over there, I have 4 books, what should I do? And they're like, you know what, read them, bring them back, we'll figure it out when you bring them back. It's like, okay. So they're super nice at my library, but yeah, it's so overdue. I felt so bad. So bad, guys. But yeah, so this is got the orange, it's got the salmon, it's got a darker orange. So all the colors that were a part of this. This is about a boy whose father kills himself and his mother is like out of the picture. Yeah, his mother's out of the picture. And it's like it's either right before graduation or shortly after graduation, but he just feels like he needs to get out of Minnesota, that he's been living his whole life just really trapped in this place, so he decides to go on a road trip to find himself. So I'll be using this for the Roll the Rainbowathon, but I will also be using it for my Reading Rivalry group, for read a library book, because this is a library book, but I will also be doubling it up and using it as a book to find yourself, because he finds himself in this one. And then the last book that I'll be reading for Roll the Rainbowathon is Bridge to Terabithia by Patterson. I needed a book. You're sitting at my prompts, dude. Dude, you're sitting at my prompts. I needed a book, a mood read with the color denim blue in it, and you guys can kind of see down here, it's got like denim blue, but then there's another cover of this where they're wearing jeans, so it has denim blue, but this right here is also denim blue, so it's fine. But this one is about a girl who moves in next door to this boy, and they find like this place in their backyard that they kind of turn into an imaginary magical oasis for themselves called Terabithia, where it's got monsters and magical animals and stuff like that. Chandler, don't eat lotion. Sorry, my cat was trying to eat lotion. But one morning, a terrible tragedy occurs, and the boy has to learn how to cope with this tragedy. I saw this movie and bawled my eyes out, but I've never read the book. So I'm going to read the book, probably going to listen to it on audiobook, because I did find it on audiobook. But I will be reading it for that, and I will also be reading it for my Reading Rivalry group for the prompt New Kid in School. So that is it for the readathons. So then I have my monthly Reading Rivalry group that I do on the private Reading Rivalry group Facebook page, which is like a game where you play every month to earn points for your team. You'll get sorted to a team, and then you read, and every book is worth points, and you have to follow prompts and blah, 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 blah. I've explained this a gajillion times in my vlog, so if you want to know more about it, go to my vlogs or look up the link down below to figure out if you want to do it or not, but it's really fun. I highly suggest it. But for that, I will be reading, as I've already said some of these, but I will be reading The Final Girl by Dan Padavana as a thriller. I will be reading Animal Farm by George Orwell for an author with a pen name. Then I had to find a dark academia book, so I will be reading Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I know absolutely nothing about this. I could not even begin to tell you anything about it. I think it takes place in Yale, and I think it's about a girl who like goes to Yale and then things start happening. I don't know anything about this. I know a lot of people have read this. I know a lot of people like it. I hate dark academia. I have read 2 dark academia books in my life and haven't liked either of them. They've been 1 stars, both of them. So not super looking forward to this one, but I did have an Audible credit, so I found it. I hate dark academia, guys. I'm so sorry. I know so many people like it. It is just not for me. Sorry, I can't tell you more about it either. I really don't know. I just know it takes place in Yale and like dark stuff happens. That's what I got for you. Not looking forward to reading it, but it's on audiobook, so at least I got that going for me. But it's like a 16-hour audiobook. Like, I'm not really looking forward to it that much at all. So I'm a little salty about this prompt. But yeah, I'll be reading that one. It's like the only one that's name I recognized on like a list of dark academia books. Like, I looked up like what even that was because I didn't, like, I've read dark academia books before, but I didn't actually know they were dark academia books until I looked at this list and I was like, oh, that's why I didn't like them. But I don't know much about dark academia at all, so I just know that I've heard this title before on other booktubers pages. I don't know if people liked it or not. I just know I've heard it before, so I was like, maybe if I've heard it, then it'll be good. I don't know. That was my theory, so that's the one I'll be reading for that. Then for Beauty and the Brain, I said I'll be reading Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. So then I have, for the Teacher's Pet prompt, I said I will be reading, the Teacher's Pet by, or the Sweet Valley Twins Teacher's Pet by Francine Pascal. So then the other ones that I'm doubling up for reading Rivalry as well that are physical books will be The Way of the Warrior Kid, by Jocko Willink. I've said his name wrong 5 times in this. But I will be using this for another school year begins prompt for reading Rivalry because he is trying to get in shape for back to school. Bridge to Terabithia. This will work for new kid in school because the girl is new to the school. And then Road Tripped will work for the library book / Finding Yourself book for reading Rivalry. And then the 2 that I have not mentioned yet that I'll be reading for reading Rivalry is The Dinner List by Becca Surley, and the book had to be mainly a primary color, so yellow is a primary color. This is about, I can't remember, it's about a girl for her 30th birthday. She like has a dream that like all these like famous people that are dead will come back and have dinner with her, and then it happens. So that's what I know about this. I have read another Rebecca Surley book this year, and it wasn't my favorite, but I didn't hate it, but it just wasn't my favorite. So yeah, it's not looking forward to it, but it did work for the primary color prompt, and I found it on audiobook, and it's actually fairly short. Like, it's not too terribly long. Like, that's a pretty short book. So that is what I will be reading for that. And then for reading Rivalry Group, I needed a book that was a nonfiction, but I also needed a book that I should have read in school but never did, and I will be reading The Diary of Anne Frank. I did read this before. I just didn't read it when I was supposed to read it in school, but I read it maybe 3 years ago, and I absolutely love The Diary of Anne Frank. I think it's very sweet, and I think it's a very true testament to the innocence of children even during tough times, so I'm looking forward to reading this one again. But yeah, I was supposed to read it in school, never read it in school. I read it as an adult, so it will still count. So I think that's it. I need to look at my notebook and make sure that's it though. Let's double check. We did it. I finished the entire checklist for 4 different reading related readathon thingies. Oh my goodness. So stinking proud of myself. Let's see what the damage is. Okay, so here's the physical books. Ugh. that's not horrible-ish. I had to stick index cards in them with what their prompts are for everything because otherwise I'm going to be so confused. But now on top of this, I have how many other audio or ebooks? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 more on top of this already for September, the month that I return to work, and we'll only have one day a week to really sit down and read. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 16 books. It's a little bit of a lot. Luckily, I think most of these I found on audiobooks, so that's good. The ones that I'm most concerned about are the 4 for Roll the Rainbowathon because that is the week I go back to work, like literally my first week back. And also it's only a week long, so I can't even really extend it out. So that's the one I'm most worried about is those 4. But this is a little bit of a lot. Yeah, I'm a little nervous, but I think we'll do fine. I think we've got it. Yeah, I think the one that I'm most excited for is probably Fever 1793 because I've wanted to read that for a really long time, and also the Dear America book. And the one I'm not looking forward to at all is Way of the Warrior Kid. So we'll see how I like these, and I'm pretty excited for September, even though I'm also really nervous. I'm also sorry this is the world's most chaotic TBR, but obviously it was really hard to plan 4 different TBRs at once. It did take me over 5 hours to do this and make sure everything was covered and all the prompts and colors and everything that I needed were met. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!
Wasn't that a great video? Clearly books make me very happy. Now you can make me happy too. Click the subscribe button to follow my channel. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you think I did good. And the notification bell will let you know when I post new content. Also, follow my Instagram for more book shenanigans.